This podcast contains explicit content.
This is Hardly Focused. Part of the Solid Listen Podcast Network.
Let's begin the show by starting it.
We are Hardly Focused. Jack Gill, Nate Fillers. You can find us at hardlyfocused.com. We are on your favorite podcast app. And we're on YouTube. Just search for Hardly Focused. Some of the things we might get to in this episode. First, the online video game Concord has been shut down after just 14 days. We may also discuss a radio station in Boston going off the air, one that this show has a connection to. And also we might get to our favorite segment, How Fucking Dumb Are You? Looking at people who seemingly just discovered the concept of check fraud. But first, Nate Fillers is a married mensch.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. That's true.
I don't think you've been on the show since you got hitched. That is a nice looking ring.
It should be. It costs a lot.
As they do.
Yeah.
As they do. I spent a lot of money on my wedding ring and then just never wore it. So.
Really?
Well, I'm stupid, if you didn't know. And you're not supposed to agree with me.
I didn't. I just said, eh.
Oh, okay. Like, yeah, no, you are. I got it like half a size too big, so it was kind of snug but also kind of loose, just loose enough that it would one day it fell off my hand, my finger, while I was walking around my old office building, and someone found it for me, thankfully. But that's when I'm like, well, I'm dumb, I can't wear this. But yours looks nice.
I don't even notice it, really, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
My engagement ring was different. Like I also grew like a balloon. And so I was very aware of having my engagement ring because it was living there. It stays there. It was stuck. It wasn't coming off.
Yeah.
But this one slides off really smoothly, and it's really nice, and it doesn't. It's on there, but this is good. This is good radio.
No, it's exciting, Nate. It's exciting.
It's a fun ring. It's good, smooth. The great thing is, friend of mine made it. So
well, there you go. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so much better than saying you went to the K Jewelers in the mall, for example. Hell, I'd love it if I had a friend who could craft jewelry for me. That's got an extra special personal touch to it. That's really cool.
Thanks. That's kind of what I was thinking. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design with a bunch of different majors, and I had friends that were majoring in jewelry making. So I contacted my friend Claire, and she has a company called Lovo Jewelry. It's LOVO Jewelry at Instagram, or whatever. I guess it's JEWELRY in case. Anyway,
jewelry.
Yeah. Super nice. Super friendly. Super quality products. This is going great. It's wow. Since Nate got married, sure did get interesting.
Well,
so he got way more. It was a good ceremony. Okay, so it was short. It was small. It was 3 hours.
Yeah,
it was good. It was good.
And the photos look great.
Thanks.
I know. I'm excited for you, man. That's great. I know you've been looking forward to this for a very long time. I'm glad that you did it. I'm glad it happened. You seem like you're happy that it's now in the past.
It's a lot of work. I will say there is there is a bit of sadness, I guess, because it's when you're a kid and you're excited all year round about Christmas coming because
Yep.
you're like Santa Claus and like, oh, presents and all that excitement. And then Christmas comes and then it's over. It's kind of has that feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, by now it's almost a month to the day. Um, Tomorrow will be a month if in case people weren't, if that wasn't clear.
Well, you made it a
Um,
month. That's great.
yeah. Changing names is difficult, but I don't have to do it. So it's kind of weird. Like, all right, I'll throw this to you.
That's a typical male psyche, by the way. Like the male, the husband in the marriage. You didn't have to do anything. It's always the wife that has to do it. The wife has to go and change the name and update the
annoying, yeah.
identifications and potentially get a new social security number, and then has to carry child and so on and so forth.
Well, so let me pitch this to you because you did the thing. When you got married, did you feel different?
I felt like I made a mistake.
Oh no.
I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say you don't feel like you made a mistake. If you don't, Jen, and I know this is like, I feel like, because my next door neighbor got married like a week ago. Okay, and we've been talking about this coming up for them for a while, and it happened. And it sounds like it went great, and the photos look great, and then you also get married. So like everyone's getting married. It's great. I just like when people come to me and like ask me about my wedding and my experience with it, and I'm like, I'm happy to talk about it, but I just always have to remind people like, look, everything about mine is past tense, and there were a lot of feelings that I had and my ex-wife had that many married couples don't have. So
Yeah.
No, there was definitely a sense of relief after my wedding. Everything kind of went by in a blur, and I was relieved that it was over, but there was like, there was a lot of stress leading up to it, but I don't think it was the same stress that other people were typically going through, the stress of coordination. I imagine yours was the stress of coordination and just making sure everyone who's supposed to be there was going to be there. Mine was a totally different level of stress that should have been a premonition to what was eventually going to transpire.
Yeah, maybe, but like, I guess what I'm getting at is like, I guess if you're willing to go into it, how can you feel like it was a mistake though? Because it doesn't really feel like much has changed. Like it's not there's not really much there. Like what aspect made it feel like a mistake? Because it's not like you're gluing yourself to somebody or like it's not that permanent. But
Yeah, it didn't immediately, like I'm saying in like half jest that it was a mistake.
like money wise or
not
like,
money wise, just it took about a year, and the mutual agreement came up where we realized, hey, we shouldn't have done this. Ours was, we had been together for a very long time and kind of felt like we were more caving into the peer pressure and the expectation of, okay, like everyone's expecting us to get married, we might as well do it. And then realizing that neither one of us really, maybe the other one wanted to, but definitely more than I did. And for me, it was a combination of just not sticking up for myself, and then also being just in a situation where like, well, it's definitely going to make my life easier. Can I just grin and bear it? And let me tell you, a marriage is, if you're not into it, do not grin and bear it. But again, Nate, you see, I know for a fact you're into it. You seem like you're into it. I know it's a completely different thing. So I don't want to. I always feel bad talking about it because I'm always like,
no,
I'm not
I
a
love
success
your
story.
perspective.
Yeah,
Because I mean, no offense, I appreciate your perspective, even though as unfortunate as it is. But I mean, I think there's a lot for people to learn about. I mean, for me personally, it's all been a very neutral experience. Like there's no like, you know, like I feel like guilty admitting it,
Mhm.
like it's not like I'm like, oh, like my life is so changed and like, like I've loved her for a long time and like as far as I'm concerned, there's not too much different except now we get to have the fun of being like wife
Yeah.
and husband like that. It's like really like that's fun.
Mhm.
But um
There are definitely the long term benefits too. When it comes to finances and insurance and so on and so forth. It is going to make your lives easier combined.
well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know about you, but I plan on dying someday. Um,
You and I are gonna live forever.
no.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. You and I are gonna live forever.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That scared my cat.
As it would. But yeah, I mean it was fun. Like I think you and I have a lot of similar feelings towards like the wedding aspect of it because it's super ridiculous. Okay, so when I do wedding videography for a living, and I'm always around like crazy weddings, like they have places and buildings and hotels in Boston, like crazy expensive places, like wild suites and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. Mine was just like a little room, like not a little room, but like, just like I can't like, just like a bigger room.
A bigger, yeah, like not quite a banquet hall, but not quite a closet.
Correct. Like somewhere in between that.
Okay.
Like like
See,
a small gym.
I'm picturing like, a tiny Vegas wedding chapel. We
It's like a picture like a cabin,
Okay.
but the room is like the size of a small gymnasium.
Gotcha.
Like,
Okay.
it's not really like high ceilings, but also it's not low, and it's pretty average, and um could easily fit like 100 people, but I feel like it would just get just too crowded after that.
Yeah.
Um, can't think of like anything else to put it in terms of size, but the point is what I'm getting at is like I've been subjected to weddings being like these elaborate things, like you do the first kiss, you do the first look, not in that order, obviously. Um,
Can you
you do like
imagine
all
though?
these, yeah, you do all these like little things, and like after the ceremony, you go out and you do photos with like the bridal party, and then you do like the first dance, and like maybe you do bouquet toss, you do all these like little things. But I guess what I'm getting at, to make the long story short, is that at some point during the wedding, I looked at how small my wedding was,
Yeah.
and I was so thankful because I was like, dude, if there was like more of this, it would be really obnoxious. Like a lot of like more people. There was 16 people there. Any like if there were hundreds of guests, it would be like, oh, are my comedy friends getting like are they feeling left out? Are they getting together well with like my family from Pennsylvania, or my cousins getting
Yeah.
along with so and so? And are my aunts and uncles from Pennsylvania getting along with my aunts and uncles from Delaware? Like, there's all that, like, you know, you have groups everywhere, like just little cliques, because you have accumulated all different types of people in your life. And they don't always, like, the worlds don't always, blend very nicely. So you'll have like one table that just kind of to themselves, and you're like, oh, I hope that table's having a good time. And then you look over there and you're like, well, that table hasn't moved at all. And then I can see that just being like a nightmare of just like feeling
Yeah.
like you have to entertain all these different groups.
That is absolutely something I wish I did differently with my own wedding, and that being inviting a lot of people, because there was a lot of family on both sides, obviously a lot of friends, Kate and I sharing a lot of the same friends, which kind of made it easy, but it also didn't make it easy. And then something I really wish I didn't do, and it was just sort of the mindset and just the way my life was going at the time. I mean, at the time I was working nights at the video game studio. So I was around, like, I was spending more time with all of my coworkers than I was with Kate and you guys as well. So I invited a lot of my coworkers, and like, I'm happy they all showed up. I'm happy they were all there, but like at the same time, like, no, don't ever do that. Don't ever like, don't.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, cause then that causes problems down the road. If, points of contention come up.
You didn't invite me to your wedding. Yeah.
I heard that. I heard that from multiple people, and it wasn't even in like, not just my wedding, but with other, because then I was a guest at other people's weddings where we all work together, and then things at work go south, and in your relationship with them falls apart, and then it turns in, and then that comes up. It's a dumb thing that comes up. What I'm saying is, if you're listening to this and you're getting married, you're like, oh, I'm very close to my coworkers. No, do not be close with your coworkers. With all due respect to the people I work with now, spending time with them outside of work is something that doesn't happen, because I keep that stuff separate for a reason. And part of it goes back to me inviting a lot of my coworkers and my former coworkers to my wedding. So I would like to, if I get married again, I would like to do something small and like what you did. I would love to. I don't want to necessarily elope. That's what Fro did with his current wife, the mother of his many children. And I don't necessarily want to do that. I don't want to do like a justice of the peace thing. I made a crack about the Vegas wedding earlier. I would love to do the Vegas wedding. I really would love to. That just sounds so cool. That just sounds so fun. I mean, I love Vegas. It's so trashy, but it's just like, that's just something that's just always fascinated me. Like, that's what I want to do right there, man. That sounds like that's a story to tell. I think
yeah. It sounds like exciting. I mean, everybody's different, of course. Yeah.
And I'm not saying yours is not a story to tell. I want to be, I personally want to have the because it's, some shit's going to go down. And that's for me. So I'm going to take enjoyment in that.
So the other nice part about it was like, we started the ceremony at 3:00. We had to set up the whole place ourselves. So we were like up at the mountain about 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Setting up for the thing. And ceremony was at 3:00, and everybody was leaving by 6 p.m.
Were you just like standing there just like clapping at him like, all right, out, everybody out, closing time?
It was actually, everybody was starting to clean up, and my wife was like, let's go. And I was like, but they're cleaning, and then we should help. And then everybody's like, it's your wedding. Like, you get out of here. But I was like, yeah, but there's all this stuff. And then it was like, so I helped pack up a few things, and then we left, and then we just kind of went to the hotel and we slept because we were exhausted.
Yeah, that I can resonate with. I actually was cleaning up a lot of things at the end of my reception, and then I wanted people to leave. Like, I was done with it. Like,
Yeah.
When all said and done, for me, it was just such an overwhelming, exhausting thing that I found more enjoyment in helping to stack chairs at the end of the night than I did with anything else. But yeah, again, it's like you just said, it's everyone's experience varies.
Yeah. I mean, you if you want to go put in a whole bunch of money, then all power to you. But like, I think there was a very strong feeling during the wedding day that me looking around, and I remember it so well, thinking like, thank God it is this. Like, thank God this is what my wedding is.
Is it weird for you to say my wife?
Okay. So funny thing about this. Yes. And it's all because of that fucking movie.
I was
'Cause
not
every-
gonna. I wasn't gonna quote it, but
because every single time, like I'm always anytime I'm like, oh yeah, my wife was over. You hear, oh yeah, my wife, but what I hear is, oh yeah, my wife.
Yeah.
And like I can't not hear it.
that
Like
used
no
to.
matter what, it's just like it's become more of an emotion
Mhm.
than like anything else. Where I'm like, I hope that goes away because it's really obnoxious. Because it's like
Well,
it's 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 kind of like when somebody says like, "Hey now,"
hey now, like that.
and then or like, "Hey now," you're like,
Oh,
you go, like that, or
you're like Eric Cartman when "Here's Come Sail Away" and he has to sing the entire
yeah, I'm
thing.
trying to think. Like, there's a few other ones, but I'm really drawing a blank because I'm
Well,
putting myself on the spot. But
it would drive me insane back
it's been
when Kevin and Bean were around. Topanga from Boy Meets World, Daniel Fishel. Her husband became a co-host on the Kevin and Bean show, Jensen Karp, and that dude, like I didn't hate the guy, I didn't
that's a
dislike
shrimp
the
guy,
Yeah, the one that like,
shrimp and cinnamon toast crunch.
yeah, when he like posted about that and then it like it backfired on him and then he got canceled.
Yeah, sorry. Go on.
So I didn't dislike the guy on the radio, but any time he would bring up, like whenever he'd bring up Topanga, he was doing it for the bragging rights because he fucking married Topanga. Like anyone would just, brag at any chance they get to talk about Topanga. But he would always do the stupid Borat voice whenever he'd bring her up. It's like, guy, it wasn't funny the first time. And it wasn't funny that at least once an hour you bring it up every hour of every day that you've been on this show.
Yeah.
And it just like,
There's the hope that it goes full circle, that it becomes so not funny that it becomes funny again.
right. And then I get to, and I especially saw a lot of this at the video game studio where I worked with a lot of people who were trying to be, and I'm not knocking them. I want to word this carefully. They're very progressive individuals. Okay. And they don't want to, the term wife is too much for them, so they don't say my wife, my girlfriend, my fiance. It's partner.
Yeah.
It's partner. They default to partner, which I'm not going to knock, but at the same time, it's just like, dude, like just, it's your girlfriend. It's your girl. It's your wife. Just, you can say that. It's all right. I mean, I know then, they're the same sex couples too. Okay. However you want to address that, that's fine. But they were always like, when they would say, they all said partner the same way. They all just had a way of saying, well, my partner. Like,
yeah. So I had that mostly because, I don't know, fiance was like annoying.
I mean, I hate it. I hated that term. And it took me forever to go from, you say girlfriend for a decade and then you switch to fiance. And it just as I was getting used to fiance,
It doesn't hit the same.
Yeah. And it became wife. And I'm just like, I got used to saying wife when she wasn't my wife anymore.
Yeah.
And then, but you know what? Had no problem saying ex-wife.
That's fair. That's all valid.
And now the circle has become anew again. Now I'm back to girlfriend.
It's a nice title. I mean, they're all nice titles in their own way, except for, I mean, some people like fiance. It's like, but I think the thing that bothers me about fiance is that they're the same term. It's like there's no uniqueness to it. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying there has to be a uniqueness to it because of course there's like, partner and partner, but fiance is even more annoying because they're spelled differently. The male fiance has one E and the female fiance has two E's. And that's just pretentious as fuck.
Oh,
And
that
it would kind of bother me because especially like as a comedian, when I'm writing jokes, Google Docs would always tell me that I was spelling it wrong.
that like it's like when you say like it's the difference between like you're divorced, but then you're the divorcee, right? Like adding
Yeah.
the extra e's with a little slanted line.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that was like, you're an idiot. It's spelled this way. But in terms of every single time I Googled it, like it would say like with the two E's, it would be like the female, like to be bride or what, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like, and then you put one E and it's like the male. Like, it's like, I don't know. It just, it just bothered me in a stupid way. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I am very happy for you, Nate.
thanks.
I hope
I appreciate it, Jack.
I hope you have an infinite number of happy years with Lexi. And I wish you nothing but the best, seriously.
I appreciate that. I'll keep you posted.
Meanwhile,
Mhm.
so the Massachusetts, if I may completely pivot with, because I have no segue, I'm just gonna take a hard left turn here. So the Massachusetts primaries were today, the 3rd of September, and
So many good choices.
yeah, I didn't like really. I've just been of the mind that okay, you got to vote because this is going to set the stage for November. And I have a feeling that voter turnout was very low today in Massachusetts. But at the same time, like when I picked up my ballot, there were like 5 names on there, and every single person on there, at least on the Democratic ballot, were running unopposed. And I imagine being a blue state, a blue commonwealth in which we live, it's going to be it's pretty obvious who's going to win, unless something like unexpected occurs, and I really hope that's not related to just the projected low voter turnout. But I went and did the thing today, and it's someone that I've completely forgotten about. But I've been living in my house now for 8 years, so voting at the same place for the last 8 years, and mine is it's a church around the corner. And like typically on voting days, even if it's just like at the city level, you'll still see the people outside the polling place, outside the church, holding up their signs for their candidates that they're supporting. And there's always one guy in particular who kind of like stands out above the rest. Well, none of those folks were out there today. And the one individual in question didn't show up until I think the polls had to have been closed by the time the guy showed up. You're closed at what, like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m.? Probably 8 p.m. That's when he showed up. This fucking guy, older guy, wearing just like business attire, wearing a MAGA hat, holding a flag that says Trump won. And he's got like, it looks like a CB radio connected to a giant speaker, like a handset. Who the fuck knows what he is spouting off, because it just like, it just sounds like gibberish. People, I am pulling onto my street, and there's 3 people in front of me, like in their car, like 3 cars in front of me. And they're all turning at the same corner. by this guy, and they're all slowing down as they're passing him. And I guarantee you, we are all saying the same thing to this belligerent fuck. And that is, he lost. Shut the fuck up. Because that's what I yelled as I slowed down and rolled my window down.
Mm-hmm. That's what you'd say. That's
Like,
what I would say.
God, I hate humanity.
It's pretty rough right now, but
Yeah,
there's some hope.
just the fact that even so close, I mean, this is going to be anywhere, but even just like, yeah, there's some belligerent people around here, but that is like the most belligerent that I've seen. And if this is what he's doing now in September, I can only fear what this guy is going to be doing in 2 months.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird one for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've been noticing a lot more lately that there are a lot of negative like actors.
Mhm.
I don't know. This is gonna make me sound old, but I don't know who's real anymore, because like obviously you go on like Twitter, and now it's on Threads, and even on Facebook you see people posting. And the problem is with the social media accounts is that by now, we've had them for a while.
Mhm.
By now everybody has learned that um negativity gets more traction.
Yep.
So it's like, so you'll have people creating posts like um like a guy who tells a joke about his mom dying, like, and it's a funny joke. Um and then the first comment being, you can't make a joke about your mother. Like, and it just feels like the person made the joke
Yeah.
and then went to his alt account and then wrote like, you can't make a joke about your mom, that's disrespectful, just to start like the argument of like, you can joke about whatever the fuck you want, everybody copes
Yeah.
differently. Because I mean, it's so obvious that like, everybody has their different ways of like mourning and everything like that, but for some reason this one really hit me in a weird way of like, that's I feel like that's a majority of the posts out there. There's like, I feel like 90 plus percent,
Yeah.
like anywhere between 90 and 99% of these posts are just people who are just posting this thing because the algorithm doesn't care whether they're positive or negative. It just sees that you're getting responses. And the best way to get responses is to put something dumb in the comments.
Yeah. So
So it's like, who's real and like who are bots? Like at this point, it's like bots. Bots are doing it.
right.
Bots are like, oh, this is this. I don't know. It just kind of pisses me off a little bit, and it kind of makes me feel that way about like the people out there too. Like, you know, well, their logic is if Trump is president right now, then he can't run again.
Yeah. So
But
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if he won in 2020, then that means he's reached his 8-year term limit and he literally can't be president again. Yeah. That's but then they're going to come back with the argument that he can override the Constitution and get rid of the amendment that and laws that prevent term limits from being removed.
yeah,
Which, yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, good luck with that mindset. Good luck with that logic.
I'm just surprised by all of it, to be honest. Because like, how is the Republican Party okay with this? Because they've already lost so many. Like my parents were Republicans up until Trump. Like they always supported the Republican Party, and then once fucking Cheeto man started
Right.
doing his shit, they're like, what the fuck is wrong with this party?
I mean, like, initially you'd think, like, how bad is it that someone would want to leave their own party? I mean, you've seen how bad it was and is and could very well be. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If like, okay, obviously, like now I'm registered to vote as a Democrat, but that's because in this, well, two reasons. One, I just got sick of explaining to the old ladies what the pizza party was.
Yeah.
And finding out that the affiliation was created by a hardcore Trumper, but that's neither here nor there.
That doesn't make sense.
But then also just because
or does it?
I mean, it was funny for like 5 minutes, and then I just let the thing go for far too long, and I'm also very lazy. But like, just in the last few elections, I've just been voting blue just because I just don't want that guy back in office and in him having the power to put into high levels of power the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Clarence Thomases and those meatheads. So I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if that's where you land. That's fine. But if you're gonna support Trump, then all right, that honestly leaves a sour taste in my mouth. You can be a Republican and support someone who's not him.
Mm-hmm.
And B, if you're like belligerently supporting Trump, then okay, I don't want anything to do with you. And that's even so. That's like, now I would laugh if this dude who was on the corner was like, he's just fucking with everybody and he's not really a Trump supporter in the least. And this guy's gonna go.
Could be a thing,
He's gonna go vote for Kamala in November, but that would be just comical.
Some people want attention,
But like I would even count belligerent as being at going out for breakfast the other day and sitting next to a guy who was wearing a Trump 45-47 hat and looking like anytime you see a picture of like, a MAGA rally and the people who are there, and this guy like was straight out of one of those pictures, and like that's even like, dude, why would you even do that? And there was also a Cybertruck in the parking lot too.
Oh, perfect.
And if
add to it.
if that was his, you're like, where the fuck are you getting the money for this? Like you work in construction is evident by your sleeveless shirt that you're wearing, but also just another sign that I think. And now I sound like my own parents saying this, but another sign that we're just fucked, because like my parents were complaining about. Incessantly complaining like 20 years ago just about like gas prices were going up, and then the trend at the time, because SUVs became the thing, so the trend at the time was just the ridiculous sized SUVs, which are still a thing. They were like so up in arms about that shit, and meanwhile I'm just looking at the Cybertruck and I'm just more like angry. I'm like, how the fuck did something like this, something designed like this, get approved? This thing's just goddamn ugly. I don't care if it's electric and if it's got all those cool gadgetry in it. It's just an ugly fucking vehicle. So just when I see just the what humans are doing these days and in what they're crafting, it makes, I just don't want to leave the house. I just want to stay inside and hide from it all.
I have to kind of second that, but kind of add my own twist to it. Like when we were doing the show, like at the beginning of like the pandemic or around then, my feeling was, if you are a Trump supporter, you can fucking die. Like, I hate you. Like, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
This time around, I'm like, you can support whoever you want. Just shut the fuck up. Don't be loud. Like, my biggest problem with Trump supporters right now is like, they completely destroyed the American flag.
Yeah.
So every single time I see the American flag, I can't help but think, loud American Trump supporter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think of like any other things that America has done. Granted, America doesn't have a good track record of doing the best things.
No, not in the least.
But I mean, there was a point where I could see a flag and be like, oh, that person likes the country. But now whenever I see a flag, I'm like, that person is loud and it's obnoxious, and you can support him all you want, but just shut the fuck up. Like, I'm going to do that with who I'm supporting. Like, obviously, I'm not going to go out there and on the streets with like all this fucking merchandise saying like, because who the hell am I convincing? I'm not going to, like, if I wore like a Kamala hat or a shirt or whatever and I run into a Trump supporter, they're going to be like, "Oh, that's a great hat. That's a great shirt." I think I'm going to vote for her. That doesn't happen. There's no point for it.
Right. It
The only reason for it is to be loud.
yeah.
And
It
I'm just,
it sucks that like you drive by an American flag and like for me I have to second guess it now. I don't
Yeah.
just see it and just see just a representation of just the country and what the country stands for. And now I have to think like, okay, what is the message being conveyed here? And also just driving by, like, for the last couple of years, people have been putting their own makeshift or, unofficial Trump 2024 signs in their front yards or draping them on their homes or what have you. But now obviously more are showing up. They're more abundant than they were.
mm-hmm.
And I just drive by and I'm just like, I just shake my head. I'm like, dude, I see that. I'm like, I want nothing to do with you. Go fuck yourself.
Of course there's that. Like, I mean, of course I have family members that are definitely going to be voting for him, and that's fine.
Right.
Like, it's just, it is what it is at that point. Like, you're not going to change the world by being like, "Oh, I'm never talking to this person again."
Yeah.
The only thing you're doing is limiting your perspective. Like, I think that's one of the eye-opening things that I saw from like the Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
Like, the most terrifying thing about that was how everybody was isolating themselves from different perspectives to fit their own narratives. So now everybody's living in a fake world that that has facts that only feed their ego and their fears, and everything's becoming bubbles, and it just, I think that's the scariest reality about all of this, is people just distancing themselves from like the other half. Like, I'm sure there's really not a lot to benefit from,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's even worse to be like, I'm never, I'm just not gonna be around, excuse me, I'm not gonna be around those supporters. I'm gonna burn all those bridges, and I'm just gonna stick to people who like the things that I like.
Yeah. It drives me insane when I'm to see someone like trying to defend Trump, especially for like anything that may or may not have happened in the 4 years that he was in office, and then like what he's like really pushing for if he gets elected again. Because I'm like, all right, I'm going to tune all this out because this is what I understand. I understand that he has been convicted of 34 felonies. I understand he tried to incite an insurrection and fueled his idiot followers to storm the U.S. Capitol. I understand that he pissed off the U.S. military, not only with his various comments just dunking on veterans, but then his photo op at Arlington a couple of weeks ago. I understand that he just completely bungled the response to the pandemic. Oh, I could go on. That's what I understand.
Oh yeah,
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't care if there are like legitimate accomplishments in there, they are pushed aside and they're like overshadowed by the abhorrent things that this man has done.
Yeah, I don't think it helps that also most of his supporters have the nah defense, where it's
Yeah.
there's no substance to it. It's just like, you know, nah, like the most annoying childish thing where you have nothing to support the nah,
Yeah.
but you're just Nah.
Oh, it's the yabuts. They got a case of the yabuts. You bring that up. Yeah, but all right. Well, yeah, but 34 felonies.
Mhm.
Yeah, but insurrectionist.
It's like, listen, I know Biden isn't amazing,
No.
but the fact that during his presidency we have been less angry is saying something.
Right. Right. So, like, one thing I know, like, people will bring up is inflation's obviously gotten really bad. And I'm not an economist. I struggle with any number that is higher than 1. But I see it. Obviously, it's a problem everywhere. But here's the thing. It's going to be a problem no matter who is president, no matter who is in charge. It's always going to be an issue. The only times I can recall it not being an issue, and it's really just gas prices, and they always seem to go down during the election cycle. Anytime I can...
The next president gets the credit for it, even though it's always been
right.
the previous.
Yeah, it's been nice. I've been able to... Mike's always been telling me about this, and I've finally been able to experience it. I find myself in his neck of the woods quite often. Funny story. Walking out of my therapist's office last week, so this car pulls into the parking lot. Someone's like pounding on the window, screaming at me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's Mike and his mother.
Of course.
Like, what the hell are you guys doing here? And they had some family business to attend to. And it just happened to have been in the same building where my therapist is.
Nice.
Oh, that was comical. And we were just like talking about the podcast too. And my therapist comes out. And I was just like, at a point, like, hey, look, it's my ghost. I was just telling you about him. Anywho, the gas up there. Thank you, Cumberland Farms. Thank you, Smart Pay app. It's been a while since I've paid under $3 a gallon for gas. We're starting to teeter towards that, and I guarantee you, over the next month and a half, it's going to go down even more because I remember it happening in 2008, 12. 16, 20, and everyone's like, oh, it was the pandemic. Everything was like that during the pandemic. I'm like, no, it happens every election cycle, and it's going to happen. I drop my fidget spinner. It's going to happen again.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that inflation, it's just going to get worse.
It's going to happen.
Get worse, and it's never going to get any better. And I cite... If I may, I cite Keenan and Kel, of all things, because I'm a Rhodes Scholar, you see, but I cite Keenan and Kel. Do you remember the episode of Keenan and Kel when they go into the future? Like several hundred years into the future, and they need like that like valve. I think it's like, I forget who ultimately became a robot, but they needed a replacement valve to get them to work again. And
I don't remember that, but I do remember parts.
The thing that sticks out to me is that when Keenan finds the valve and the shop guy's like, okay, that would be $3 million. And Keenan's like, what? $3 million? $3 million? Okay. And then he pulls out his wallet and just has like just wads of cash in there. Because that's where it's going. They knew in 1996 that's where it's going, and that's where we're headed. And you know what? You got to find ways to just adapt.
I think the fear is if you look at the trends that obviously the rate at which they're charging for these things is not matching the income. Like my rent, once upon a time was $1,800 a month, and fast forward a few years, of course, it's been like 8 or something. God, I don't remember. But yeah, of course the number is going to go up. But the thing that really screwed me up is over the last year, my rent went up $400 a month.
Oh, gee, I know. Mine. Now, paying a mortgage, like if you can get good interest rate, and I lucked out during the pandemic because the interest rates all just pretty much just crashed. That was the time to refinance. So I'm like in a, knock on wood, I'm in a better situation, but like it's still going up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only going to go up. And it's it's because the taxes are only going to go up. And like, I'm going to complain about it. But I would also like to, now this is where I become like apologist, delusional, thinking that, oh, my taxes are actually going towards things that are actually beneficial for my well-being. I would like to think that's what's happening. But I mean, now I feel like an adult.
That's what happens to you, I guess.
Right.
But I think there's always like the fear, like there's fear on both sides of like both candidates are just going to really fuck up the economy. And like Kamala is going to have like so many forgives that it's going to drive up taxes and they're going to get rid of this and that. It's like, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really well read in politics because I don't fucking care. Even though I strongly should, I just find the more that I know about it, the depressed I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think the president has a huge role to play. And I don't think it's like my first act of president is to make carrots $7 a carrot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When like, remember you'd see at the gas pump, we were just talking about this, but you see at the gas pump.
It's usually not it's the gas companies a lot of the time.
Yeah. But you see the stickers that people would put up, and I'd always appreciate when they would get taken down pretty quickly, but it'd be the sticker of like Biden and it says,
thanks, Biden.
Or you'd be pointing, it's like him pointing and it's like strategically placed. So it says, I did that. And it's pointing towards the meter or the price of the gas. It's like, no, you may have, appointed people who are either making this worse or trying to make it better, but it's your predecessors that you should be blaming. People just want to, they're scapegoats. That's what it is. They just want to blame somebody. Yeah.
But like either way, it's going to happen. So it's just a matter of like in what way. Like shit's going to get fucked up with Trump. Shit's going to get fucked up with Kamala. That's just how it's going to be.
It's just
just how the world has always been.
Right. It's
just we have this stupid two-party system, and there's no room for anything else.
At the end of the day, do you want the delightful, charismatic vice president who made sure in his home state that no child is hungry at school? Or do you want the vice president who doesn't even know how to properly shake someone's hand? And when he turns and introduces himself to the person next to him, and that person just goes, nope, and walks away. Yeah, that's what it's going to come down to. And oh God, I mean, I know that like one of the predictions I had was that if Biden, I didn't really have any hope that he could have gotten reelected. It would have been a lot tighter than it seems like it's going to be now. Again, knock on wood. But
of course. Well, that's I'm sorry.
Well, like my prediction was that Biden gets elected again and then immediately invokes the 25th, and then Kamala now becomes the vice president, or vice president becomes the president. Well, now if the felon gets elected, what are the chances of him either on his own volition or because he's just so incoherent that it needs to be done, that then that dumbass from Ohio becomes the VP? Like that's then we're really screwed if that guy ends up becoming president.
Yeah.
Got the charisma of a fucking bar of soap. And I apologize to soap everywhere.
I think the thing that's really fascinating to me is that how clear it is that Trump is only going to do things that benefit him. And there's been time in and time out, like, of him proving that.
Yeah.
but still people are in denial of it. They're like, no, he's very selfless. It's like, okay. Okay. Like, I feel like most of him running is so that he can make a lot of his problems go away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like about fixing America. It's like making sure he's okay.
It's making sure that when he is sentenced, that he can skate by that and not go to prison. And boy, was I happy to see the news today that sentencing is not getting delayed.
Yeah.
But
I'm just kind of tired of it. Just get it. You
well, we knew it was going to happen in September. I mean, I hate how long it takes for these things to play out.
Yeah,
but
I do too.
He's still trying. But it doesn't seem to be working.
It's just obnoxious at this point. It's either don't do anything or do the thing. Like, I know that's not how the legal system works, but I too am getting kind of tired of like hearing about it. And I'm just like, well, I guess the nice thing is if he becomes president, like we don't have to hear about that because he'll just make it all go away.
Mm-hmm. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He just looks old.
He's old. He's simultaneously dumb and smart at the same time. And most of all, he's selfish and a pain in the ass.
But also old.
Also old.
He's old. He's very old. All right. Speaking of inflation, now the price of video games going up. I mean, honestly, the price increases don't happen all that often, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems like, yeah, they're only going to go up as we go along, but they've really only gone up like $20 total in the last 20 years. And even then, it was after the price really went down, if you think about it. You look at those old Toys R Us flyers for like Super Nintendo games, and those were like in N64 games upwards of $80. And, you know, that's 90s money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember PlayStation 2 games costing $50. Well, then it went up to 60. Now we're up to 70. So it was a little refreshing to see a game come out that's only $40. And the game is called Concord. The
Like Bad Fur Day?
no, like the city in New Hampshire.
Oh, Concord.
Or if you will, that's how you know I'm from Massachusetts. Everyone's probably calling it Concord, and I'm like, Concord.
I'm just having fun.
No, that's probably it. There's probably a lot of people out there like, oh yeah, Concord. This game Concord. I'm like, Concord, kid.
Concord.
Yeah, there's another game. It's called Somerville. No, Somerville. Yeah, I played Somerville. I'm not joking.
All of it.
Yeah, I'm not joking. There's a game called Somerville. Now I thought when I first heard of, and I'm going to call it disclaimer.
It's a fine. It's to do it. Say yeah. I'm not.
It's going to be Concord. But when I heard about this game, the first time I heard about it, I just thought I'm like, okay, there's this. I guess phase now where seemingly good games or interesting games are named after cities. There was a really good one, a short game, but a very good one that came out a few years ago called Tacoma. And then there's Somerville, like I just mentioned, and then now we have Concord. Like, these are all cities, man. These are all like cities in the U.S. So didn't really know anything about it other than that. Just when I see the name Concord, I think of these other similarly titled games I can speak. So Concord comes out 14 days ago. 14 days ago. Very specific that I say 14 days ago. Because it's now, I'll preface it by saying it's a Concord. What is Concord? Nate, have you heard anything about this game?
No.
Okay. It's a live service game. It's a multiplayer 5 versus 5 shooter. Came out on PlayStation 5. It came out on PC. It was released 14 days ago on August 23rd. always online, one of those games.
An Overwatch kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much Overwatch.
Okay.
Developed by, I believe, Firewalk Studios.
Opposing Blizzard. I see what they did there.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it came with a price tag too. Now, when Overwatch came out, like, there was a price tag. Team Fortress 2, I actually paid for Team Fortress 2. I think twice, because I bought the orange box that was in it, and then I actually bought Team Fortress 2 on Steam, and like a month later, it went free to play. And then Overwatch,
that's what they do.
Yeah, Overwatch is now free to play. So, but Concord now they're putting a $40 price tag on it. Well, Concord comes out on the 23rd, and already like the pre-release hype is not really there because I guess when the trailer came out for the game, it was not well received. It was actually made fun of. And it was also very well known that the game had been in development for a long time. Take a guess, Nate, how long this game was in development for.
4 years?
Double that.
No, really?
8 years this game was in development.
That's okay.
8 fucking
How does
years.
that work? Because like technology is it's like changing all the time. So is that what causes it? Or is it like they work on it for a year and they're like, oh shit, now there's a new system and we gotta make it towards that? Or is it just like it's just slow?
It's a combination of factors. The evolving technology is going to play a big role in it. The ever-changing landscape of the games industry, the demand. I mean, this is like Suicide Squad, what WB put out, that I'm going to make fun of until probably until I die, just this game. And just knowing my insider knowledge, that game was in development for probably about as long as Concord was, but that's because the development restarted so many times. You get so far into it, and then all of a sudden you'd have to pivot because now we have to retool the core of the game. And if it starts off as a single player game and turns into a live service game, well, now you're gonna have to redo everything you just did. Mm-hmm. You gotta retool the story. You gotta retool the way the characters play. Now we really got to work on balancing. It's a whole thing, and one change is gonna just not only negate X amount of work you've put into it, but now it just adds Y months of additional work, development time. That's why half the time these games don't get release dates. Suicide Squad, I think it was supposed to come out in 2021, and again it got delayed by 3 years. So Concord finally comes out, and here's the thing about like Suicide Squad and like games like this. There's been a lot of games that have come out, not just multiplayer games, but also single player games, where like when they come out, the player base is usually pretty high. Like, and it's usually just out of interest. And then it drops off.
Trickles off, yeah.
It drops off soon afterwards. Like, people think that this game Anthem that came out several years ago was a mess just because it had a really rocky development cycle, and when it finally came out, it was just very middling. But the game, like, I believe it's still, like, the servers are still up, so you can still play it. But it took, I think, maybe about a year or two before BioWare said, yeah, we had a roadmap for this game planned out, and we're just not going to do anything with it. we're just going to abandon the project. And that's the thing, if you're unfamiliar with the live service games, they have roadmaps. It's to keep the game going for as long as it possibly can go. So I'm getting to is these games all typically will have somewhat of a player base, concurrent players. And I will say at one point, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this here on air, but I'll say at one point, Suicide Squad's player base was so low, like their current concurrent number of players, it was so low. This podcast had more listeners than that game had players.
Well, that's not too crazy considering the millions of people
Right.
listening to
According to The Verge, we talked about this months ago, but the game Gollum,
Oh yeah.
a contender
Remember
for
us talking about that.
contender of worst game of 2023 at its peak on Steam, because now you can't really do this on like console, but Steam, you can see how many people are playing a game at any given time. Its peak, Gollum, 697 players. So that's not a lot. However, yeah, okay. So around 700 players. What I'm getting at, Concord. Concord is actually the one that had 697 players after its launch, which is bad. Because again, you spend $40 on the game. It's a multiplayer game, so you expect there's going to be people to play with. There's only 700 people playing the game at any given time. It's going to be very hard to get a match going.
Or you're going to be playing with the same people a lot.
Yep. So 14 days. August 23rd is when this game Concord launched on PC and PlayStation 5. On September 6th, so the day after this episode goes live, Concord will be shut down.
Wow, that was fast.
That was incredibly fast. There are live service games that do get shut down shortly after they launch, but it can take a while. My former employer put out a game called Infinite Crisis that was in an open beta phase for, I think about 2 years. If I remember correctly, the open beta started in 2013. So like there were people who could play, but like you needed like an invite code, and then eventually they opened it up so you could download, but the game wasn't officially released. When they put the game on Steam, they considered that its official launch. 6 months later, it gets shut down, and it's a black mark for the company, and it has gone down in the annals of the video game, the history of video games as an embarrassment, because it was part of the MOBA craze and the multiplayer online battle arena, and it just didn't take off. But again, these games usually are live for a while before they get shut down because no one's playing them, or they're just not raking in money. For a game to get shut down 14 days after going live,
That's wild.
that is an absolute fucking...
Yeah.
Like, there's no way around that. Like, we talked about a game called The Day Before, which was launched and then was like shut down after like 4 days. But that was by, if I remember correctly, it was like a Russian developer, like a Ukrainian developer. And it just lifted, like it stole a bunch of assets. Like the game, it was a scam to begin with. Like instances like that are scams.
Yeah.
This was a first party studio, so directly under Sony, that was developing this as a AAA title for 8 years, only to be shut down
14
after 14 days. Now, Nate, $40 this game costs. That means people spent money to buy a game that they only got to enjoy of upwards of 14 days. Everyone who bought the game is eligible for a refund.
That's good.
So if you bought it digitally, you're going to get your money back. If you bought it, I guess physically, you can you can refund it.
So we can all play a free game for 1 day.
Yeah. So the director of the game, Ryan Ellis, he posted in a PlayStation blog post, because again, remember the studio, it's a Sony Games studio. Ryan Ellis says, while we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately and will begin to offer a full refund to all gamers who purchased the game on PS5 and PC. If you purchased the game from the PlayStation Store, a refund will be issued to your original payment method, blah, blah, blah. Also, they mention the best path ahead. That seemingly indicating, they also say here, explore options, including those that will better reach our players. So it's indicating it's I guess, insinuating that they want to relaunch the game at some point. Probably is a free-to-play game laden with microtransactions, but trying to make it seem like, hey, we're not actually shutting the game down entirely. Like, it just wasn't ready yet. We took it out of the oven too soon.
Like they usually do.
But why? Why does this have to happen? Why is this a thing that happens all too often now? Like,
Rushing?
I don't know if it's a deadline.
You can't
thing.
really say rushing after 8 years, but
unless like you're in danger of losing, like, funding or whatever as a studio. Like if you're a Sony studio, then like does Sony, then the higher ups at Sony say, hey, we need to put this out immediately or we're gonna kick you guys to the curb? Because I believe that was the controversy with No Man's Sky, which that game is almost 10 years old now, and that game had a complete reversal from when it launched, and effectively it launched unfinished, and it's because they were told to get it out the gate, and that studio did it right. They every year they put out a major content update that just builds upon the game. It now has everything that was promised in it and more, and all of it has been free. And now that studio is once again held in high regard, and it's it's a success story. But it's the fact of the matter is, this is just how it happens. It just doesn't.
I guess you got to try to profit. It's like being a musician and you work really fucking hard on an album, and you want to charge $20 for that album, and then eventually no one's really buying it, so you just kind of make it $10, and then a few years have gone by and you just have a pile of them and you're just handing them out.
Right. Which, I mean, for the exposure, maybe that's better. And then try to make your money elsewhere, like playing shows or busking even. Do that.
I feel like video games always had this trend of like they have a good period of like games, and then they just have like, oh, anybody can make anything, and then it becomes shit, and the market is just flooded with shit.
Yeah.
And then it's like, uh-oh, and then somebody has to come around and make something new, and I feel like maybe that's where but the thing that drives me, like, the thing I can't understand, and I'm sure gamers out there know it way more than me, is it would seem like they would benefit by making these games like dual online and offline.
Yeah.
Because it's like once you don't have the network of players online, you don't really get anything from it and you have to shut it down. But if you had like a single player mode, like there's still like, it's still a game. Like once upon a time I had this game called Hellgate London. I don't know if you remember that.
I've heard of it.
But it was like a bunch of people quit Blizzard and decided to make a game, and it was supposed to be like the next thing. And it was online. And it was like, it was because it had limited level design, and it story wasn't great. But anyway, it was still a game. Like you could still play it. And then they had this online part where other people are there, but I never played with other people.
Yeah.
Like I just played with like my cousin and Zach. So if the game is now offline, they since pulled it, and it strikes me as weird that there I have a game that doesn't work because the whole purpose of it was to connect online and play with other people, but I never did that.
Yeah. I know that the games are designed like from a code standpoint, technical standpoint, to be played online, and like you can't to have like an offline version, a single player version is like a whole different code structure.
Yeah.
There's a game that Microsoft in Bethesda released, I think last year. It's called Redfall. And I think Arcane, one of the Arcane studios, developed it. And there was a lot of hype behind it. And it was an online only game. Well, it came out, and even being on Game Pass day one didn't help it. And the game is still online, but they've ceased, like not even a year later, the studio ceased development on it because the game was just not only poorly received, but nobody was playing it. But one of the last things that they did was they were saying like, well, we do want to put an offline mode in this game. Well, they finally did as part of the last update. So like, yeah, you can still play it.
Yeah. I mean,
it.
that's what I'm saying. And like, don't get me wrong. I understand that playing with friends is way better. I mean, we're at the age of loneliness where people are putting on YouTube videos on the background just to feel like there are more people. And that's why podcasts are also doing real great, because people are lonelier than they've ever been. So they want to feel like there are people around them at all times.
Yeah.
So I get the appeal of playing online. I love playing with friends. Like I played Diablo for years, Diablo 2 with like all my buddies. But Diablo 2 was also fine with just me playing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was fine going around and doing all the shit myself.
Yeah, that's how I play Diablo. And I think I played with Fro once. And like, I played the fuck out of Overwatch before.
Yeah.
2
and I'm
came
saying
out.
like,
But even then, I'm very like online games. I'm so selective about that shit.
I mean, first person shooter is different, I suppose, but like once upon a time, like how many times have I said that during this? I guess I'm just having a once upon a time episode.
perhaps that's the name of the episode.
No, please no. um,
It hurts to laugh.
I played Unreal Tournament, and that was an online game. But what I like to do is I like to play against like a bunch of bots and set them to like hard.
Oh yeah.
Because to me, like it's not about like being amazing at a game. It's just playing the game. So I play like Capture the Flag, and it wouldn't be a sweep because it was hard. I would set my teammates to be easy and then them be hard, because of course you want like a little bit of challenge. But
you want those giblets too.
But that was still like that's still a thing that I did. And also there was a whole part of Unreal Tournament where people just made levels and you had to see how fast you could go through them. They were called bunny tracks.
Okay.
And they were like obstacle courses where they would build like things that push the game to the limits. Like if you like strafe, like you could launch yourself off of like a corner if you hit it just right and get higher air, kind of like a rocket jump. But just by double tapping, you just do this quick move and you can jump on. I was never good at it, but it was fun to like try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, and try to get to the end of the course. And that was, you weren't playing against anybody and it was perfectly fine. Like, I understand that multiplayer is so much better, but it's so strange to me that you put it all into the concept of this online world. And if that online world doesn't like strive, then it's gone. And then you have an unplayable game. Like even Overwatch could have its aspect of you play it by yourself. Like you don't, but like it could. Like you could have a team of AI playing against your team of AI and you're the guy and you're trying, and that's a way that you can learn all the characters, or sorry, heroes.
I think they were trying to with Overwatch 2. They were trying to put out a PvE mode, player versus environment, and I think it's been canceled effectively. Like they just like, again, it goes back to the technical side of things. When you build
it was fun for a little bit.
Unreal Tournament. So you bring up Unreal Tournament, and I remember when I first met Ack when we were kids, and he had Unreal Tournament. Zad had Unreal Tournament, so he was playing it. I remember him showing it to me. This is like 1999 or 2000, so this game's like, new. And that
Cool
was
graphics.
like, holy shit. That just like that. Well, the first game he ever showed me was Carmageddon, and I thought that was amazing. But then he shows me Unreal Tournament, and that was just it. My life just changed from that moment on.
Amazing music.
I was playing it on legally, of course, playing it on Sega Dreamcast legally. I cannot stress how legal it was.
Very.
But because my Dreamcast like didn't work when I was younger, and like it worked, but like it could, like the laser, something was fucked up with the laser, and like my copy of Unreal Tournament just didn't work. Every once in a while it would fire up, and when it would, I would play it for like 16 straight hours because I knew I wouldn't be able to. I knew I wouldn't be able to fire it up again. So now I'm playing it. Through other ways. I have it on Steam too. Of course, I could play a PC version, but no, I want to play the Dreamcast version that I missed out on growing up. There's just something about it.
How people play first-person shooters with controllers is baffling to me because using a mouse is clutch.
Well,
especially when you have all the like you have a Viper. And it's just like you have all these buttons on the side and you can program them to do all the different things. It's like, dude, I was playing, oh God, I can't even remember. But there's like a certain key, like 2 keys that you hit together to do like a fast dash. And I bind that to one of my mouse buttons and I just could click it and just constantly dash. It got so bad to the point where that button on my mouse broke because I was using it too much.
So I mean, I grew up playing console over PC, and you want to talk about like playing a first-person shooter on Dreamcast? Back then, like the way that the first-person shooters are now, on Dreamcast you were using the what's now like the ABXY buttons to move forward and backward.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and you didn't have the extra analog stick. You only had one analog stick to work with.
Interesting.
So I'm like it's kind of like muscle memory.
Oh yeah.
Playing it, but at the same time, I'm like, how the hell did we think this was normal back then?
God, I can't remember the name of that game where I binded the.
Was it Hello Kitty
Island of for like a whole year.
Terminator?
Or it was free online.
Okay.
And one of those other things where you can pay for shit. Like you had like different like robots and they all do different things. Like there's like a rhino one.
Okay.
You can obviously that one's heavy built and I'm sure somebody out there knows it, but I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and be like, Shibboleth will of course be what the name of it is, not.
That should be. I want you to make a game now. Like I was talking about this with Zach a few weeks ago, like RPG Maker, and I want to make it like I've told you the idea of like making a game in RPG Maker. Well, I think I'm going to now, and it's going to be called Shubba and its sequel Shubba 2. Hubba Dibba.
But
Shubba 3. Yebbits.
I should still have it on this computer, but I don't. It was some space game, whatever.
Okay.
I'll let you know later. It's not important to anything, but I don't even know why. Oh, just because using a mouse for Overwatch is so much easier. Because you can set the sensitivity.
Sure. Yeah. I would bounce between controller and keyboard and mouse. And I felt like, because I was usually playing as a healer too. So, I felt like it was interchangeable, depending on like, it didn't matter what you were using. But you can't do that with Concord now. Can't do it. But this with Concord, this will be, I think, officially the biggest embarrassment in probably the history of video games. I also think that this could be a kamikaze effort on Sony's part. Because Sony wanted to get into the live service business. So that first they acquired Bungie, who made Halo, and now they're doing Destiny. And Destiny isn't doing well. So Sony's rethinking their investment. They also laid off a ton of people recently. And then Naughty Dog was making a Last of Us live service game. And in Naughty Dog, they had the... I think Naughty Dog was able to leverage their power to have the plug pulled on this project because they said, we like making single-player games. And having a live service game will ruin that for us. So we're not doing that. Case in point, Rockstar Games, Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, are we getting that next year? Who the hell knows? Because Grand Theft Auto Online's been doing great for almost 15 years. 15 years. I'm sorry, 12. 11 years. If you want to be pedantic. But
shallow and pedantic.
So, yeah. I think it's a kamikaze effort by Sony realizing that maybe live service games aren't their future. So they set up Firewalk to be a scapegoat and release something that they knew was going to tank right out the gate. So they could then shut it down and say to the world, hey, you know what's not good? Live service games. We don't need these. We do not. We don't need any of them. We don't need any more. Let the ones that are running, that have been successful, continue to be successful. And let them just fizzle out. Meanwhile, WB just sitting back and saying, you guys release your shitty live service multiplayer shooter and no one's playing it, so you shut it down. Do what we did. Release it, have nobody play it, and then just lay off your entire studio. Because fuck them, right? That's the David Zaslav way.
Okay,
Right.
sorry, I was listening. I was listening. But I was
No, you
also
made it
trying
when
to
I
figure
said when I name dropped Zaslav, like you made a face as if I just outed somebody. I'm like, no, he is the
No,
he's
because
the
you made me,
CEO.
because I wanted to start off the show by saying, hey, guess what? You're never going to believe this. I watched Adam Sandler's new special,
Yeah,
and it's not bad.
he's like kind of like having a resurgence. It's just there was it's just a period of time where he just was everything he was in was terrible. So,
Yeah, but like his special is it's not life-changing, it's not amazing, it's not like holy shit, you have to stop everything and watch it. But as somebody who has an opinion about Adam Sandler,
Mhm.
I was like, good for him.
Yeah.
The game was Warframe.
Oh wow. Yeah, definitely not
Sorry.
Shibata Humana.
Well, it should have been. But yeah, because not too long ago I sent you the live action Simpsons
Oh my
thing that
God.
somebody created with AI that was just so bad.
Several people have sent that to me, and I received it again yesterday, and I watched it again
I'm
yesterday.
so sorry.
And I didn't finish it when you sent it to me, and I tried to finish it yesterday and I couldn't. Like once they show Steve Buscemi as Mr. Burns, that's when I'm like, I can't. I really
this
can't.
is Barney. He is my best friend. Like Homer would never say that. Like it's not. I think that's my biggest problem with is not that it was Adam Sandler as Homer, just the fact that like they wrote it like Adam would do it, like or like what is it, Happy Madison?
Yeah.
Like as if like they would do it, but it's like, dude, there's no character like arc that you saved from Homer. Homer has been a character for over 30 years, and it's like a very particular character that I'm sure every one of us to some degree can emulate.
Yep.
And there was none of that in the AI. It was like, this is Marge. She's beautiful. It's like, what are you talking about? Like that would never be a Simpson dialogue moment.
And I like how they used Kristen Wiig for that.
Oh yeah. Like not it did look kind of bad too, but that's neither here nor there.
Like
But
I want to hear their voice. I don't want to just hear, Adam Sandler not doing anything to his voice to be Homer. I want to hear Kristen Wiig try to do Marge. She's like, homie.
Homie. Yeah. No, I would like that. Like try. It's like casting Chris Pratt as Mario.
Yeah. Or
It's just
what's his name? H. John Benjamin as
Yeah.
anybody.
yeah, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. The whole reason for that is longevity. You can't be replaced if you're using your own voice, baby.
Yep.
Like no one can mimic it. But yeah, I mean, Adam Sandler has made good movies. He has, but I think the general consensus is when you think of like Adam Sandler with his comedy,
Yeah.
um, it's like he's outdated. But no, this one was his special. It's pretty fun. I laughed a few times, and he has songs in it, and the songs are like a minute, like the perfect length.
Yeah.
Like for a comedy song, there's so many people that do like 2-3 minute comedy songs, and it's like you've already gotten to the punchline. He gets to the punchline, and that's it. Like, and he was naked. End. Like it's just like you don't need to go any further. You don't need to. So, I just thought that would be an interesting thing to say.
Yeah.
Because the last time we talked about that, I was talking to you about why do I hate this, and you're like, because it's Adam Sandler, and he did a thing.
And that was me, probably, very likely, just making fun of him to sound cool.
I mean, it's he is very hit or miss.
Right. Yeah. These days especially.
I think, especially with like his comedy movies, like I think people were just like, he did Uncut Gems, and people were like, that's what he should do, or Punch Drunk Love.
Yep.
Like when he's not being funny, you're like, dude, he's great.
He's had the dramatic roles that haven't been all that great too. So it's
of course.
It's not always a hit when he's being serious, but his serious roles aren't very memorable.
Right. Of course, like as a fan of Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Why, dude? My brain saw Happy Gilmore, and then I was like, no, that's not it. That's Gilmore Girls. You can't. That's different.
Slightly.
Billy Madison. Those are fucking legendary movies.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't aged well, but nothing is ever going to age well. But yeah, if you're bored and you have an hour or more, you can check it out. Like it's different.
Where can you watch it?
Netflix.com.
Okay.
I love putting .com on things. Anyway,
Netflix.
I'm not getting paid for any of these.
Netflix.net. It's .com.
I'm very interested to see like what happens to Netflix next year. I mean, so far my predictions of Netflix have always been wrong. I was like, yeah, as soon as they get rid of the sharing things, they're gonna lose everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it like their user base went up like double. I was like, well, I'm done. I think it was on the show too, where I was like, you could quote me on this. As soon as Netflix gets rid of the sharing ability, everybody's going to quit. Everybody's going to leave Netflix. Nobody's going to use Netflix ever again. And then it was like, Netflix had their most successful year ever, tripling their sales. And I was like, well, I'm an idiot. But I'm interested to see what they do when they roll out like the $7 for Netflix with ads, $15 for standard Netflix without ads, and I think it's like $24 a month for Netflix HD 4K,
Yeah.
which most people don't have. That's not true because people watch it on their TV. So I was just about to say most people don't have 4K on their computers, but I was like, that is the old thing. I'm old. There are TVs now that people do. It's
Yeah.
like, but still 4K.
You know what it is with Netflix is that they need to justify the production budget for the final season of Stranger Things because every episode's going to be like bare minimum a feature length.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's like
I
watching
kind of fell
Sherlock.
off that. I fell off of Stranger Things, unfortunately. It was a good show.
Stranger Things would have been perfect if it was just that first season.
Yeah,
Would have been perfect. And then they couldn't leave well enough alone, as it usually goes.
It was just like you had lemonade, the mixture of powder and to water just right, and then they just kept on adding water to it.
Yeah.
And just with each season, it just got more and more until now it's just water.
This is Country Time Lemonade. Nothing even resembling a lemon has touched it. All right, let me play this.
This is the end.
Hardly Focused.
The end.
I'm feeling a bit ill, so we won't go too long here with the wrap up.
2 hours later.
Pretty much. I mean, we're almost there. This music bed by a band called Hum, and a song called Ironclad Lou. Now, this plays in every episode because I just fucking love the song. And I love the band Hum.
Stars.
So, funny you should mention Stars by the band Hum. So, a radio station in Boston on the frequency 92.9, WBOS, as of today, the 3rd of September. It is now Bloomberg Radio on 92.9. And so that being all business radio, having been transferred over from an AM signal with what they call an FM translator, which basically just it's like a signal repeater, but on a frequency that has a very low power. So it's very, very small listening radius. So they effectively swapped Bloomberg now on 92.9 and the content of 92.9 now on this AM station and on this FM translator, but it's also on HD2. Now, why does 92.9 HD2 sound familiar? Well, if you've been listening to this show for a long time now, you'll remember for 2 years, which went by very fast. But there was a 2-year period where this show was broadcast on Friday evenings on 92.9 HD2 in Boston. And we were technically, now Mike and I were working at WAF at the time, and WBOS 92.9, they were our competitors. So the fact that we were able to do this and be on...
We were like Dexter.
Yeah.
Like working in the police department, but also killing people.
We were told as long as we didn't get paid for it and didn't promote it at all, it was fine. Because at the time, like the HD subcarriers it was still relatively new technology. Not everybody had an HD radio, so they just assumed no one was going to listen to it. And you know what? They were right. But we got to be part of it, and it was a really good time. And we networked with a lot of people. I met a lot of really good people on that side of things. When Ed Oliveira was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how he almost threw, I think, his shoe or his lunch or something at the computer that was running the 92.9 automation. And I'm like, dude, I know I can picture that because I stood in the studio where you were. I know exactly what you're talking about. But with the format flip, the format on 92.9 effectively ended today at 12 p.m. Now, it's not going away. It's just no one's going to know and think to tune to a different frequency to listen to this station.
Yeah.
No one's going to put on HD2 and listen to it. I mean, that's just the way it is now. WAF is still around, but it's on HD2 on, what was it now? 104.1. Ironically enough, because that used to be BCN. When they were swapping things around a few years ago, it really kind of made things very confusing. So odd seeing 104.1 WAF. People would be turning. Charles Laquadero, who is still alive, is probably turning over in his grave.
But didn't it have two different stations when it was 107.3?
97.7. And that was...
Yeah, so
that,
I mean, that's a different
number. It's because like 107.3 couldn't be picked up in Boston, even though it was a Boston radio station. So they added 97.7 to fill that gap.
That was very telling of what was to come.
Correct. And it's funny is they dumped that frequency before they dumped the second frequency before the flip happened. They like went back to being exclusively on 107.3 for like one more year, and then K-Love came in and bought it. But anyway, so 1999 is gone. Adam 12 was the program director. He was doing the middays there. Poor Adam 12, this guy. I love Adam 12. I love him to death. When I was a kid, I'm not kidding when I say this. When I was a kid, I was like 17 years old, and I sent him an email when he was at BCN, just fanboying and saying I wanted to work in radio. And he took the time to send me a response, a really well written response.
No.
Yeah. And I don't have it anymore, but I held on to the email for a long time, and I've kept in touch with him ever since. Finally met the guy when I saw Sunny Day Real Estate a couple months ago. Just as big a fan as I am, and I knew I'd run into him there, and I did, and finally went over and finally met in person, and it was great. But this poor guy though, he put WBCN to bed, then he went to WFNX, and he put FNX to bed, and then he went to 92.9, and now he's put that to bed. He is.
He's very talented.
He sent away 3 of Boston's rock radio stations, and we only have one left now, ZLX. And like, if he goes there, I'm not Adam. I love you, dude, but maybe don't go there. Don't work for iHeart, please don't. Oh God, don't do it.
Maybe K-Love.
Oh Jesus, yeah. If only they had. I don't think they have any DJs. Or if they do, it's all like syndicated.
It's God. God is their DJ.
God is their DJ. Hey, it's Jesus H. Christ rocking out with you.
Like WH1 the Christ.
Here's the latest from Mary Mary. And
coming up next, the Lamb of God. Yeah, that sounds biblical.
But first, we're gonna broadcast audio of 2 people having sex in church. Linger longer. So 12 was able to curate his own playlist leading up to the format flip. I'll tell you, the final 3 songs played on 92.9 before they were replaced by Bloomberg Radio and moved to a different part of the dial, and made it very confusing to tune in. Even if you go to their website, if you go to rock929rocks.com, like, the logo just doesn't make any sense. It says Boston's Rock 92.9 HD2 1330 WCCA 106.1 something else like
.com/www. Ask your permission before 800. Go car for kids.
Right. They played the legal ID right at the top of the hour, and they listed off all of it. And the legal ID took like 15 minutes to go through. Because there's so many frequencies, and the translators aren't just like 4 letters. It's like W2CLB4 .FM5. Like, what? But anyway, the final 3 songs played on 92.9.
Was it Hum?
11:46 a.m. Stars by Hum. And when that song came
Train to
on,
Mars.
I fucking I blew out my hearing. I fucking cranked that song. I could listen to it whenever I want. But when the fuck does Stars by Hum ever play on commercial radio?
Fucking never.
Last time I heard that was on WBRU during their like retro lunch hour.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and that's
My band used to cover it.
such
It
a
was
good
fucking
song.
fun as hell to play.
One of my favorite videos, and I think this is when they became famous. It's because Howard Stern heard them, and he heard Stars, and he's like, "This is the greatest fucking song I have ever heard."
And he
And
put his penis on it.
ooh, I invented it, Robin, but he hears Hum, and like I think they were playing in the area, so we had them come on a show the following day, so they could play Stars, and like the video is so fucking funny to watch. Like Stern's like holding like a plastic guitar and like playing his plastic guitar along while the band is performing. So then they became like arguably a one-hit wonder. I mean, kind of like now Inlet, that came out in 2020 or 20 or 21. I can't remember. Inlet, a surprise release. They hadn't put anything out in almost 20 years. Then surprise drop a new album. And holy fuck, it was a masterpiece. We played, sometimes we play one of the songs from that on here, on the show. But Stars, and it just didn't stop there. Segued it into Stuck on You by Failure. When the fuck do you hear Failure on commercial radio?
Never, unless it's that cover.
I turned it up.
Mo.
I turned it up even further.
Enjoy the Silence, right? Did that ever play on the radio? That was like their that was their hit.
Yeah, I hate to think about that because it's like the band Far was known for covering Genuine. I'm like, yeah, you know what else they covered? Savory by Jawbox. How about you play that?
Apparently the song Torn was a cover.
Oh, don't get me going. Don't you get me going, sir.
I mean, I just found out about that.
You did?
So I was just like, well, yeah.
Yeah, Annie Previn wrote that.
Yeah. And
go back to Stern. Who I wrote that, Robin. Go back to Stern. So when Natalie Imbruglia put her cover out and it went to number 1, nobody knew it was a cover. Well, Stern knew it was a cover, and he had Annie Previn on his show and had her perform it because he wanted to make sure Annie was getting her due. The band Edna Swap. And it's such a, now there's like 2 versions of it. The original version, did you hear like the slower, grungier version?
Yeah, I heard both. I heard, yeah.
It's like there's 2 versions by Edna Swap, and one is very slow and indicative of 90s grunge, and then there's another version that's like more up tempo, and then that is what the Natalie Imbruglia cover is based on.
And then there's like the one that's in a different language.
I think like there was an Irish or a Welsh band that also released it around the same time. Like
they're actually they could be the original.
I think like
I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird story.
Because I always thought it was. I know there's a band that it's in. Yeah, you're right. It's not like in English, but Annie Previn. I've always believed it was Annie Previn that wrote it and recorded it with Edna Swap. But then of course it went off and became incredibly popular.
It's weird. It's like watching Perks of Being a Wallflower and finding out that We Can Be Heroes was a David Bowie song. It's like I always heard it as that 190s band that I can't think of.
Blue Jean.
Yeah.
Blue Jean by David Bowie also played on 92.9.
Nice.
Which one you don't really ever hear at all. Like Bowie's always got you always hear the same like 3 Bowie songs. Never hear that. By the way, the Edna Swap, their version of Torn, has over 1 million listens on Spotify, whereas like all their other songs only have maybe like 80,000.
Gotta be weird though for Natalie, like your most popular song is a cover.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean that's just like Failure, right? Enjoy the Silence was probably one of, or I guess The Nurse Who Loved Me, but then A Perfect Circle covered it.
Yeah. I mean, like when I think of Failure, I mean, well, my Instagram handle is a failure, title of a Failure song, but I always think of Stuck on You. Like that's I'm always gonna default to that.
I think we should have an episode that's just devoted to one hit wonders because those just fascinate the fuck out of me.
Same.
They're
And
just it's so interesting.
well,
like how it happens.
the final song, speaking of the final song on 99 was by a band that they just announced that they've hit, I think either on Spotify or maybe through YouTube, watching the music video, 1 billion, let's say hits, because I can't remember what platform it is. But it's a band that's a one-hit wonder. The year the song came out was 2001.
Okay, so not Marcy's Playground.
No, that was 1998. Speaking of radio, that's the name of Live 105 in San Francisco. The new morning show starting there is literally called Marcy's Playground.
Cool. That's nice.
Yeah. No, it's
I met them.
Really?
Yeah, my brother opened for them.
No shit. Okay.
And I just was talking to the bassist, and they're all fucking cool dudes. Anyway, go ahead.
I'll have you guess who the band was. You don't have to guess the song, but the band that their final song on 99 today. Again, arguably a one-hit wonder. I won't say they are a one-hit wonder, but others will. They will say they only know one song by them. The song came out in 2001.
You don't know how badly I want to nail this, and because if I did, I would just print out this episode and put it on my wall. But I just don't have it in me.
They're from Arizona. Their album was renamed after their album came out shortly before 9/11 and then had to be renamed after 9/11. It's also the name of one of the tracks on that album. It is let's say a direction or a position, the name of the song. It just might take you some time, Nate.
Yeah, we'll come back tomorrow.
I literally just said
go ahead, just say it.
Okay, Jimmy Eat World.
Oh, okay.
And it was not
that's a sex position?
What? I say sex position in the middle. I said a position or direction.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We hear what we want to hear.
So, okay, I'm getting sick and I'm starting to slur, I think. So and I haven't been drinking. I've been drinking tea this whole time. I'm even caffeinated.
Don't write yourself off yet.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
It's only in your head. On that note.
Well, the final song
reached the peak at the end of the episode.
The final song played in 1999. I believe it's the most recent or one of the most recent Jimmy Eat World songs. It's called Something Loud.
Oh, yeah.
It came out, I think, 2 years ago. They've been
on my release radar. Yeah.
They've been releasing singles. They haven't put an actual album out in a long time, but they've just been doing a single or two every year. And this was definitely within the last couple of years. Something Loud is a very, very good song. I'd say a fucking perfect send off for the radio station. And of course, because it's Adam 12, he timed it perfectly because then the flip happened at 12 on the dot. And the first song they played after the transition happened, well, first thing they did is they played a clip from the late John Peel, who is a legendary DJ from the UK, who, if you've probably heard of Peel sessions, a lot of bands have
banana.
A lot of bands will have their live, there'll be a live version and it'll say Peel session because they would have.
Oh, that's what that is?
Yep. They performed on John Peel's show. There was a rule that, they couldn't, it was some old, archaic rule in the UK where, the bands, they couldn't play, recordings of the band. So, kind of in the early days of radio, they'd have, an orchestra, a live orchestra perform.
Oh, yeah.
Bands couldn't they couldn't play the band's records, and that's why pirate radio and Radio Caroline came about. So John Peel, to get around this, would have those bands come in and be like, hey, I can't play your music on my show, so how about you just perform it live? And bands you'll see the Smiths have a Peel session, and New Order has a Peel session, and Block Party. So It was a clip from, I'm going to guess it was Peel's last broadcast in 2004, and he was introducing Mogwai, who's one of 12's favorite bands. A little clip of that faded out into another one, Bites the Dust by Queen. So that is it. That is so the city of Boston no longer has a now technically again they still do, but good luck finding it. I can't pick it up at where I live. The city of Boston no longer has a radio station that plays new rock music. We only have a classic rock station now, and that's WZLX. Everything else, all the other rock stations, the big three are all gone. BOS was playing rock in its final years. That's gone. And they call themselves like the new generation of classic rock. So it'd be grunge, the grunge era, the 80s, the grunge era. But then, when Pearl Jam put their new album out, they were playing the new Pearl Jam songs. It's the only place I was hearing the new Guns N' Roses tracks that have been coming out over the last couple of years. So, but now there's nowhere in Boston you can hear new rock music. You would have to listen online to hear it. So,
which, there's a lot of online in Boston. Everybody has a computer.
Yep. Now, the history of this show being on 92.9 is pretty much only recounted by us. You'll not find it in a textbook, but Nate, this is the second time that you have been on this show when we talk about a radio station that this show is a part of that has since been taken off the air.
Victory.
Adam 12 kills him, and then you and I eulogize him.
Hell yeah, that's how we do it, baby.
Although 12 didn't kill AAF, he was not involved with that one. But I hope 12 lands on his feet. 12's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Again, he, when anyone else in the business would have scoffed at me, he actually took the time to respond.
Oh, that's nice.
So I'm always gonna hold him in high regard for that, and I hope he ends up somewhere else in Boston radio, especially because it's in the radio business to be on a radio station, goes off the air, and then start a gig at another station in the same city. That usually doesn't happen, and he can pull it off. So
any fan of Sunny Day Real Estate is a fan of mine.
Hell fucking yeah. He also loves Guided by Voices. I don't know if you listen to Guided by Voices, but he is very much into them.
No, I will though. I'll check it out.
Street Dogs, Guided by Voices, Buffalo Tom. He's got a very good taste in music. Adam 12 does.
He should start a radio station.
He should. Why does he just do that?
Yeah.
Fuck it. I mean, it's you probably make more money not making money. That's what I always say. I make more money not making money doing this show. Because
it's more fun.
Because when I worked in radio, I certainly wasn't making money. In fact, I was spending money. There was no profit to be had.
That was me in a band. Yeah. And now that I'm not in a band, I'm doing better than ever.
There you go. I'll play music with you, though. I know we always say we're going to do it. We haven't actually done it since we were teenagers, but why the fuck not?
Some point. I still play.
I do too. I sat down behind the drums today. Second time in a long. I didn't play for months, and then it's like the second time in a week I've sat down behind the drums and played. Even been dicking around on the guitar a bit.
I'm gonna make you learn Paramore.
Sick. I know I used to know the beginning of Brick by Boring Brick.
Zach is crazy. So.
Oh, on drums. I love playing that on drums. I fucking love playing that song.
Yeah. I mean, I've had so many people that are like, they won't touch those songs because he's insane. I'm like,
yeah, there's quite a few Paramore songs I can play just right off the dome.
I've learned everything except the ending of Ain't It Fun? This Is Why, The News. Like I just thought about a lot of the new stuff. But anyway, we'll figure. This is good for everybody. This is good. Hey, submit your what song we should learn to www.harleyfocus.org.
submit your suggestions to beckysfeet.com.
Yeah. and we'll get back to you.
You know what I should actually learn how to play? Just as retribution for myself. Little Sister by Queens of the Stone Age.
At least the ending.
Oh, that fucking solo at the end.
So for everybody listening, I'm throwing you under the bus because you brought it up. So we learned this song to play for the Battle of the Bands or like talent show, whatever, one of those.
Back in high school, and it started in 2005, and I think we had 2 shows a year. There was a Battle of the Bands, and it became Rock Stock, but that was later in the year. Earlier in the year was Rock for Relief. For I think the first one was for the tsunami, the Indian Ocean tsunami, which was,
I remember that,
which is coincidentally the show that like Blink-182 broke up rehearsing for. And then it was for Katrina the following year. And then there'd be like, after that, it was like, hey, what's the big hurricane that happened? Let's send our pennies to that. So the show you're thinking of was Rock for Relief 2005.
Gotcha. So Jack messages me, hey, let's do this. I had been working on playing bass for a while. I mean, there's a couple of bass players within our community that are fucking amazing that I was like, dude, I gotta do them right. I gotta do, like, I want to show them that I'm a good bassist too. And the song was Little Sister, and for the most part it's just a basic bass line, except for the end he like really rips it up, and I was like practicing it so much, like I was like, I gotta nail that ending, and like, because it's really cool, like if you listen to it, it's like it's like all over the place. And so I work real hard, and it come time
Keep
for the
talking.
show, we're playing the show live in front of everybody, and we get to the solo part, and for whatever reason we go from the solo straight to the ending, and I was not ready because we skipped a part. We skipped to the ending for some reason. I don't know why, but I wasn't ready to do the bass riffing. So I ended up just doing do 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 do. It was, I felt so broken
Now,
and sad.
that whole performance was a mess because if you remember, now we could have just easily, as I talk with a guitar pick in my mouth, we could have just easily done like an instrumental version of it. But no,
Oh yeah,
no, we had someone who
sing.
sing,
We never practiced with.
and he literally had the lyrics to the song on a sheet of paper sticking out of his pants.
Yeah.
As I grab my acoustic guitar, which is out of tune.
That's good.
I can do it. I can do it. We're going to do this on the show so everyone can hear it. Ready?
Just don't break a string like I did. Hey, sister.
I don't remember.
Something like that. Smash it.
I've literally got I've got the chords right in front of me, and I'm just trying to.
So Jack and I would always like riff on each other about that. Like I would always be like, "Hey, you just skipped to the end, huh?"
People still fucking talk to me about that, like to this day. I'm like, yeah, cool. That was in 2005 in high school.
Yeah, I mean, there's worse things have happened.
What the hell?
We played it off pretty good. It was like nobody knew, but it was like it was my time to shine. And looking back, like my life would be no different.
See, that's what we should have played. Was No One Knows. There you go. You said nobody knew.
Oh yeah,
Should've played No
that's
One
a
Knows.
good song.
Now-
That has a bass solo.
Now, what the hell is this chorus? This chorus is, it's like, have you seen the chorus for this song? The way the power chord is.
Josh writes weird shit all the time, and sometimes it's great, sometimes.
Yeah, no wonder the people who played with me at this show no longer talk to me.
We could have played 3s and 7s. It would have been worse. Exactly.
Yeah. See, I liked it because they played it on SNL. That's why I got in the song. They played it on SNL, and Will Ferrell came out, and he was reprising his role as Gene Frankel and was playing cowbell to the song.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I still enjoy it. I don't listen to that song and cringe. I love listening to that song. I just like, now that I can actually like play guitar, I should learn how to play it just so I can be, familiar with the torture that I put people through. That was me being a band leader. I realized being a band leader wasn't fun. Running a podcast.
It never is.
No.
Being the background guy is the best. That's why I learned bass.
Mm-hmm. That's why I just play drums now, and I just like let someone else take charge. I'm like, what do you need me to do? What do you want me to play?
Just let me hit these things.
Sure. All right, Nate. Thank you for coming to my impromptu jam session.
Thank you for having me.
And for the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed my rudimentary guitar skills. I also thank you for listening to this episode of Hardly Focused. Buy a hat, a Hardly Focused hat, or a shirt.
It's a nice hat.
Thank you. I've been wearing this like daily.
It came out great.
I'm wearing this hat daily. I fucking love this hat. HardlyFocus.com/store.
I thought you were going to be like, Hardly Focus /hat.
Becky'sFeet.com/store. For the rest of you, thank you for listening. We'll talk at you next time. See ya. Bye.
Goodbye.
Privatization may not have happened.
This has been a presentation of the Solid Listen Podcast Network.